What up, my freaks? RuinousInsight here with part 62 of my Total Warhammer 3 modded Karl Franz campaign. So as we saw last time, Boris Todbringer continued fighting up in Norscar around Pack Ice Bay, attacking though his army was already in a very ugly state. Fortunately, he did manage to pull off yet another win, gain himself level 12, and thus earn his unique line, powering up his army fairly considerably with the stuff that he acquired, which I'm pretty happy about. We also, next time we fight, do now have the ability to give him the exceptional offensive buff, as well as the ability to summon the Swords of Ulrich on the field, although the melee attack plus 10 when fighting beastmen is pretty much absolutely useless to us. It's generally speaking, any buffs towards fighting beastmen are useless. I've never really seen beastmen do well enough in a campaign to actually encounter their armies more than once or twice throughout the entire campaign, though we did have some great battles against them in the early game as Karl. So I suppose if you're starting in the early game with the unlocker as Boris, in that particular case, beastmen buffs or buffs when fighting beastmen might be good. Anyway, we have some interesting stuff ahead of us, and namely, we have Mr. Marcus Wolfhart and Morathi's two stacks out here who have sailed right up to the High Sentinel, which means we should probably take advantage of that and actually attack. Now, we are... wait, do we actually have your... No, we don't. I was hoping that we would have Sharpshooter, but we need to start moving towards it then. There's a bunch of stuff in his tree that we really need to get, but he's not a high enough level yet. Hopefully, out of more characters having the Mentor trait, we will start sharing a lot more XP around. Though I think it's only Karl that has high enough level right now. Yeah. Alrighty, we may have a lot of territory all over the place, but at the end of the day, we're still on turn 81, so, yeah. Alrighty, well, I guess there's nothing to it but to attack, so Marcus, you're going to pick an army and you're gonna go for it. Let's say we attack... I'm gonna say the first army, and leave Morathi to come in as a reinforcement. Mostly because there are a bunch of Bloodrack Medusae in this army, and I feel like I'd like to kill them off before they join the field as reinforcements, rather than killing off what Morathi has, even though her army would probably be easier to kill. Honestly, hard to say, but anyway, Marcus, away you go. Too bad you can't go into trencher stance while at sea. At least I imagine not. Let's give it a try anyway. Hallen, Cult of Pleasure attack. Yeah, no, he sails out. I was hoping that we'd maintain the stance because we're in our territory. Now, the unfortunate aspect of this is the fact that we have no mana, really. So our wizard is going to be relatively useless here, which is obviously a concern. And that said... Oh, only 55 seconds until they come in as reinforcements as well. Ooh, this might be interesting. Here we go. Alrighty, here we go. This should be a pretty interesting battle, I think. The enemy has a lot of Dark Shards, including a lot of Dark Shards with shields, which would probably, I would think, win in a shootout against a unit of Huntsmen. Granted, their armor piercing would be kind of wasted, but on the other hand, they have those shields, so they'd be blocking a lot of our shots. Plus, on top of all of those shielded Dark Shards, the enemy also has a decent amount of Black Arc Corsairs with handbows, which not only fire while moving, but while doing very respectable damage similar to our own Huntsmen. Let's see, this Bloodrack Shrine's about to go. But on top of that, they are much, much stronger in melee once they move in than the Huntsmen are. So, yeah, anyway, we're going to start the battle off by Vanguard deploying and having everybody focus down this Bloodrack Shrine, which apparently took a lot, and I mean a lot of arrows to bring down, though we did push pincushion it quite effectively. Now we're going to switch to the other units. There's a couple Dark Shards here, which hopefully we can focus down. Shields or not, we should have a decent amount of units be able to hit them. There we go. It's still taking quite a long time to melt these things. There we go. Alright, one down, on to the next one, and this is why we Vanguard deployed. We want to just delete at least, I don't know, half of this army before Morathi's army does arrive on the field. And, the blood is rendering really oddly. What the heck? What is it doing? What? Huh. Does it have something to do with when the arrows are flying? Maybe when the arrows are overhead, the blood can't be on screen at the same time because no, these are arrows. Because there's too many little effects on the screen at once. But anyway, Morathi's army is already on the field. It only a minute to get the reinforcements there, and while we've done a little bit of damage, there's a lot of enemies still left to kill. Looks like we did manage to catch the enemy bolt throwers out here. And there we go, although... Are you guys really all shooting that one guy? They were all shooting that one guy rather than these guys. Oh, come on, look at this accuracy. What are you doing, Huntsman? You really shouldn't do that because you do have a limited amount of ammunition. There we go. Well, at least the artillery piece is not coming back. Honestly, at this point, I probably should have stopped them from firing to save on the ammunition. But who knew they were going to be that inaccurate? Anyway, we continue moving forward in the hopes of doing more damage to this first enemy host once again before Morathi's army does get onto the field. It is still marching towards us, and it looks like Morathi is going to wait a little bit, just hover in the air, which is fine. Casting something, the Power of Darkness maybe? I'm not entirely sure what she's doing. What the heck? Yeah, okay, it was Power of Darkness. Alrighty, well, she can keep that up while we destroy this first army, at least hopefully. Now, these two will probably be doing the most damage. You still gotta love watching Marcus's firing animations. The Amber Bow is quite nice to watch. Unless he stops firing. And there we go. Alrighty, well, we also have on the flanks here some Doomfire Warlocks charging in towards our Halberdiers, mind you, and the Halberdiers taking a lot of debuffs as well as a Melkot's Mystifying Miasma, but that's fine. This is obviously a summoned unit, and this is why we sent it out there to interrupt the Doomfire Warlocks before they could do too much. Otherwise, more enemy units are charging in. There are some Medusae, which we are focusing down both with our Huntsmen as well as our heroes. First Medusa is down, and the second one should fall shortly, though it does look like the enemy will be getting at least a few melee units in here. Fortunately, our two units of Lothern Seaguard, which are currently on the flanks of our formation, will hopefully hold them long enough for us to do the damage. That said, we are starting to take damage ourselves. Our summoned handgunners are at about half HP and are about to get hurt even more as a Doom Bolt comes down. I'm not entirely sure from who. Doom Bolt? There it is. It's a lovely animation, and Morathi has arrived as well, about to charge in, but we also, at the same time, as she's about to charge in, pop that net of Ammontok just before she was able to land, which means everybody shoot Morathi before she can cast anything or do too much damage. And here we go. This is obviously the critical thing to focus down here. Our heroes are doing the same. Marcus, this is your time, buddy. No? Is it too difficult? Okay, Kalara's shooting. Marcus apparently was not needed as Morathi is shot out of the sky. Lovely. Couldn't quite get close enough with our Tormentor sword, but that'll work just fine. We got some Dark Riders trying to charge around with shields as well. Lots of enemy shielded units. And we are now, once again, starting to take damage. It looks like there's a unit of Huntsmen with about half HP. The Lothern Seaguard are pretty much done holding in against the Black Ark Corsairs that they would not be able to hold in melee anyway, though we can extend the time that they stand here before breaking and by popping that entrenchment. Alrighty. Enemy Lord is dead, yes, well, we know. I think that's a second enemy Lord as well, not just Morathi. Both of them have been sniped to this point, though it does look like our Lothern Seaguard will be routing any second, and we want to take out as many enemy units as we can before they break, as the enemy will move into melee. That said, this is only the first of the enemy armies that's by and large have been destroyed, and the balance of power is, while in our favor, only very slightly, almost even at this point. Fortunately, our Lothern Seaguard, our second unit of Lothern Seaguard, the one that isn't about to die, is taking the brunt of the enemy hits. The enemy Darkshards and Dark Riders with shields are taking damage. On their shields, I mean, and then so our Lothern Seaguard are doing the same. Or at the very least, it's taken a while for the enemy to work through them. Which is why they're here in the first place. Alrighty, more enemies trying to charge forward. More Black Ark Corsairs. Nice shot from Marcus there. Their Sea Dragon Cloak applying some missile resistance for the for the Blackheart Corsairs, obviously. Roderick Longy countercharges them to try to stop them in their tracks, and it looks like Murderous Prowess or not, this unit will break. Looks like a few enemy units that were routed previously are now going to come back, and there's still a lot of enemy Dark Shards to take care of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... looks like with full HP, and then at least 3 hand bros. And then there's also 2 enemy artillery pieces, 2 Reaper bolt throwers that have moved onto the field as well. We are going to send our wizard to try to fly in and annoy them, though the effectiveness of that also remains to be seen. Archer and exchange continues. Looks like one of our huntsmen has to back off as they have been nearly destroyed by the enemy Dark Shards at this point. And yeah, it's taking quite a while to knock these guys out at this point. Very much a range exchange sort of battle, very different from the fights that we've had against the Lizardmen so far, which just don't have the range capabilities, but lots of melee. It actually seems like the Dark Elves might actually be the more threatening faction in this particular regard, because with regards to the Lizards, we can at least focus down the major threats, the Dinos, and then slow down all the piles of melee which block each other, but all the Dark Shards, with shields especially, not only damage us from the same range that we have, but also take better hits in terms of trading because of those shields. But anyway, it does look like the balance of power continues creeping in our favor. The wizard has also landed on the enemy artillery pieces, though this is not a fighty wizard like an Amber wizard, so it's probably going to take him ages to even bring down the artillery crew. But at the very least, he stopped a decent amount of them from firing. Now it's just a matter of trying to focus down as many of these Dark Shards as we can with the relatively limited units that we have remaining, as a lot of our huntsmen are very heavily damaged. We are also sending away 2 units out this way. Now, I see the leadership dropping. It looks like we may have done sufficient damage to force the enemy army to rout. There we go. Alrighty. It was getting a little bit close there, especially with a few of our units that might have been destroyed if they took any more damage. Though I do wonder how much of this is HP damage as opposed to unit loss. Yeah, so this one has a lot more HP damage than unit loss. This one's at a quarter HP, but at 50% units, so they will recover quite a bit once the battle is over. Speaking of the battle being over, we are obviously going to give chase to the enemy as best we can, unfortunately against an army that isn't very fast, or at least no faster than ours is, and our entire army, with the exception of a couple of units, can fire while moving. So they're all going to rush forward and run down all of these Dark Elves. I got so used to doing this, so I'm playing the Chaos Dwarfs now, just to try to get as much labor out of every battle as possible. It feels weird not to get like a massive reward for taking care of every single unit as it runs away. I like watching the Witch Hunter chase off and occasionally pistol people. There you go. Oh wow, that pistol shot knocked 3 or 4 units out? Not bad. Huh. That's not bad at all. I didn't think it would have that much splash damage, but I'm happy that it does. I'm excited to try out multiple of these guys in a single army. We are building an army currently that's going to have a lot of artillery pieces, and I don't know, maybe 3, 4 witch hunters if we can manage it, as well as some other stuff. Should be a fun time, especially since they can summon their witch hunter retinues. At some point late into the campaign, I'd like to try an army with basically nothing but witch hunters and empire captains, because they can all summon units, right? So you'd have 20 heroes and 20 smaller units, maybe a couple of artillery pieces, but yeah, it might be a fun time. I don't know how effective it would be, but, you know, it could very well be effective, especially since Empire Captains and Witch Hunters are both quite cheap for heroes. They're like 100 or something gold per turn, so they wouldn't be any more expensive than an army would be, and actually would be a much cheaper army than a lot of the more elite units like Knights and Artillery and whatnot. But anyway, close victory for us. We did manage to knock both of Marathi's armies out, though whether we remain viable enough to take on the Bloodhall Coven's army remains to be seen, so let's find the damage. Alrighty, very nice. A very nice fight for Wolfheart. Somehow Morathi still managed to get 116 kills, and I'm not entirely sure how. I guess she managed to get off a few spells before she was shot out of the air by our by concentrated fire. Unfortunately, we couldn't quite catch those Reaper bolt throwers, and one of the Bloodrack Medusa did escape, but oh well. We're gonna grab the Pardon Captives on that one. Let's see how much XP we acquired. Also, we may have to chase these armies down. I guess the alright, what does defeated Morathi do? Hero action cost and heroes. Really, that's it? Wow, that's terrible. Oh wait, it's faction-wide. Oh, actually not as terrible as I thought. I thought the hero action cost was only for, like, region that this hero was locating. Okay, faction-wide is faction-wide. Doesn't really do much for us right now, but we are going to be stealing a lot more tech in the near future, so why not? We will have to catch up to these armies, but I think we may have to fight them manually. Here's the thing. This guy is in full speed stance, and if we catch these armies, we would be able to go after him as well, which means this is potentially another battle that we might want to take despite the fact that we're quite badly damaged. Also, you got yourself only 1 point from that. Oh well. I'd love to get impervious to attack, but I think we have to move through this tree in order to get sharpshooter as fast as possible. It's a very significant upgrade, after all, to our ranged line. In that light, we are going to get Mighty Forge for the war wagons, as we will have 1 or 2 war wagons in this army to replenish ammunition, especially as we saw, since the ammunition did die down a little bit. I'm now just wondering whether we replace the Lothern Sea Guard with the war wagons, or just replace a couple of huntsmen. I mean, we still have a decent amount of huntsmen, but this is supposed to be a very huntsman-centric army. I will think about it. They're getting pretty okay in terms of their range and missile strength. 60 ain't too bad. Actually, just out of curiosity, to compare, where do we have you guys, Way Watchers? You are at 80 plus armor piercing, 200 range, and you are at 45 units, however, whereas the huntsmen are at 100 units, so more than twice as much. So these huntsmen, under Peter, they're obviously quite weak. But these ones might actually be better for their... might be better than Way Watchers for the numbers of troops that they have, though the lack of armor piercing is certainly something to consider as well. Plus, we gotta remember that the Way Watchers do have other buffs that they get when they're no enemy presence in range, I mean. So they'll do even more damage. And these things, the passive augments, aren't shown in pure stats, though I suppose any other auras or pure or augments aren't shown on the Huntsman either. But anyway, I digress as usual. Peter, you are going to full speed your way down to these remnants. Oh, wait, we're immune to attrition for 1 turn. You know what? Go here. You can go after the Sea Corpse. Setting sail. And then grab a few of the islands around here. Oh, right, we also have you, who's about to reach Illustria as well. Our Moor army, though it'll still take quite the while before our mage rejoins you, unfortunately. But it is what it is. Alrighty. Now let's see what we have to do. Well, you know what? Let's build some buildings. I didn't do any admin last episode, at least building-wise, so we should probably do some right now. Conquata, you're pretty valuable, so let's upgrade those Ogham stones immediately, and let's upgrade the Citadel of Lead as well. Need these upgrades as fast as possible, because this place will, inevitably, get attacked by something. Alrighty, let's check what else we need to build. I'm sure there's plenty. Western Border Princes, we'll start with you, Verdanos. We are still fighting the Orcs, though they're quite far away now. I mean, I'm just wondering whether it's actually worth our time to upgrade the City Watch here. You know, let's upgrade it for now, but there's a good chance we'll be deleting it fairly shortly as well. Alright, Land of Assassins, Wizard Caliph's Palace. We need to keep building these Temples of Sigmar, though until you're tier 5, it's probably not super critical. Let's upgrade these instead. And, oh, we're actually going to need to get rid of the Clothier here, because we want the Pottery. Alright, fine. Get rid of the Clothier, because we can't have Lashik without defenses, because it's a coastal territory. Northern World's Edge Mountains. You are fine as you are, I think. There's nothing needed to be upgraded. Kofur, yes. Definitely prioritize that, as we do want to upgrade those Kofur docks ASAP. Creeping Jungle. And what do we have here? Temple of Kara. Yeah, you're a coastal territory, so I guess we're going to upgrade that defensive building. We need to get rid of this guy. He's going to attack us, that's the thing. I have to think about it. Might want to get a few more troops in one of these armies. Ice Spewer and Blizzard Peak. I'm still not 100% sure as to whether we're keeping any of these territories or how many of them. I'm disinclined to let go of Saber Mountain, that's the thing, since it's a free tier 4 territory. So maybe we'll hold on to it for now. I guess Blizzard Peak is somewhere that is salty. Though Karn of the Gore Hunt might move there as well. You know what, let's start upgrading Ice Spear. Who knows, we might actually get to it. River Brienne and Bordelot, most definitely get those reinforced walls. What else do we need here? The vineyard, the Morso Vineyard is being upgraded right now. We probably do not need a tap room in this particular location, mostly because we get a bunch of control out of the Morso wine market. Bordelot wine market, rather. Yes. Then... well, we do want the paved roads everywhere, so let's get that. And we could either go Clothier or Growth. We do want the place to grow, but they're at 355. It's already doing reasonably well, so maybe we'll just go for the Clothier for the little bit of extra cash. Alrighty, Ostermark, you're up next. The Mordheim building is finished, so at the very least we have the little bit of extra minus corruption in all provinces. And I guess we're also going to build the paved roads here because there are nearby things and that could benefit from them. Also out of curiosity, is our moot building finished as well? Yes, indeed it is. So growth +5 for all provinces and a decent amount of trade goods as well. Why did I decide to build the cattle? Oh, it does give us 100 money per turn. Yeah, fine, just build it. Just build it, even though the growth is quite useless here. Ironic, because it's the moot. But anyway. Also, do we want... well, yeah, I guess tradable goods produced can be fine here. It's not like we're going to make any money out of the place. In any other manner, I mean. Anyway, Griffin Wood, we could get the coaching in here, although... oh. Your public order needs adjustment, so, or your construction cost needs adjustment. But we don't need Host Festag anymore, and I need to double check. There are probably a few other provinces where I still have Host Festag on, and that needs to be taken off. Yes. Alright, Eagle Aries, let's upgrade you. We do probably want to get those exotic animals, though to some degree we may... I'm just wondering how far we go into the Mountains of Morn or how far we bother. It really depends on what we do with Greasy. Next up, Barrows of Quileux. Still have not traded you. Mostly because the these guys are willing to sell this place for 24k, as I recall. Which isn't that bad. 26k now, because we're richer. Almost 24k. But that's not that bad. I feel like Massive Orcal is worth more, especially since we can use it as a generator of various capacities. Similar to Scave and Blight, and currently similar to Karak Azor as well. I'd rather not give it up then. Yeah, alrighty. Bears of Quila was the last thing, so let's see. Where are we here? Okay, that's you, Southern Badlands, Grunty Mingle. Well, I'm not entirely sure we'll be holding on to you, despite the fact that you have a elven colony thing, so I don't think we're going to upgrade you right now. Aymara Swamps, however, will be held, so the High Sentinel needs an upgrade. We'll upgrade the Iron, and then we'll go for defenses here next. Floating Pyramid, we need growth here, so growth is what it shall be. Next up, Guanji Valley. Oh, there's a little army here. Wonder what you're gonna do. I guess they're going to try to take some of the territories away from Merkarth. You know what? Let's upgrade the tall walls here. Everything here needs to be defensible. And now, Pillars of the Unseen Constellation still somehow holding. We might as well collect the income. Are we collecting income here? I know it's not a lot, but if our public order is maxed out anyway, there's no real reason not to. You can also build some more basic troops if you really wanted to, but it's not like you're going to leave the territory. Though at this point, wait, you could actually grab the Wellsprings of Eternity for us. Not gonna be easy to defend, but it really depends on what these guys do. Alright, fine, why not? Free territory is free territory. Just gotta watch out for Rakarth moving up north. And let's take that, colonize it please, and then we will upgrade you and then hopefully build that cattle ranch there as well. Alrighty, what's up next? What is up next? We have... I forgot where we were. Well, that's unfortunate. It wasn't Gisoro Gap. Blighted Marshes. Skaven Blight. I don't think we did that one. Yeah, why not? Why not upgrade the toll gates? It's not going to buff too much, but you know what? Both Estalia and Tilea will get benefits from it, and they should make a lot of money over time. Ooh, yes, cracked land. Oh, are we not collecting income here? My bad. Let's start. And then let's upgrade Xandri. Let's upgrade Xandri's port. Let's upgrade the growth here, as it'll be needed, as this will obviously be a cash cow province, and quite a nice one at that. And then Pools of Despair, we may as well go Clothier here immediately. Lovely. Alright, Zornos, cool. Yeah, we're not going to bother collecting income here yet, but we will eventually. Let's upgrade Uskalak itself, as we will want to use it to defend against any Skaven onslaughts from the north, i.e. Clan Ferric. And Atalan Mountains, you, Vulture Mountain, you're in Host Vestag, eh? Upgrade yourself, though. There are some nice, what is this? Repair. There's some nice... things. Oh wow, I have not repaired you in a long time, my bad. Nice trade goods to be found here. Alright, not bad. We're making now 52k per turn, though obviously that also falls every single turn as we continue recruiting stuff. Now, speaking of recruiting stuff, I had an idea. You aren't Frankenwerter. Oh, I might have to cancel something. I want you to get 6 regular war wagons. Not the mortar variety, but the regular variety. Yes, and the reason for this... maybe a couple of the mortar war... Nah, we should have enough mortars. You're bringing 3 mortars to this. With another 6 mortar war wagons, we should be able to attack the Black Pyramid of Nagash. The reason for the sniper war wagons is we need something to be able to deal with all of these enemy constructs, like the Ushabti with Great Bow and stuff, and while they are dangerous to the sniper war wagons are quite dangerous to them as well. Plus the fairly decent amount of ammunition that they can provide will keep our artillery firing for the entire battle. So hopefully this will enable us to actually attack the place. It'll be something of an investment, mind you, but not too bad. We may even have an army essentially following Volkmar with a bunch of war wagons and maybe some other stuff that moves fast as his reinforcing force. Actually, speaking of reinforcing forces, I had an idea. Since it's fairly likely that we'll be losing a lot of Wolfkin throughout the campaign, we're gonna have an army full of Wolfkin and maybe some Iceguard and some other stuff to follow Boris around as his secondary force, and whenever he loses a Wolfkin, he can simply get one from his secondary army. I think that would be fairly decent. Plus, if there have been a couple comments requesting some Iceguard, so why not? And actually, speaking of, you know what? We're gonna go defensive alliance with the Ropsman clan as well.
When he sees one.
You know what? Yeah, just take the money. Alright, so we're gonna do that. Then we're going to build our outpost with you, because I don't believe you're allied with anybody. And this will be our 3rd Kislevite faction that we will have access to their units of, which is why we allied with the Orthodoxy rather than destroying them. Every extra unit, or every extra faction will give us extra allegiance and extra stuff. I also noticed that Clan Molder needs to be dealt with, and I think we may send one of our armies up here. We are going to start building up Ludwig Schwarzhelm's army, so he might have a little detour to Molder, especially since Karl is busy trying to hunt down Archaon. And, well, helping make the Urson Revival is strong. We'll also want to keep an eye on when we declare war on Clan Ferric. Or when we're able to. I also do want to trade these territories, but we'll do that later. I want to get a battle going right now. Although the question is what one. You know what? There's a Skull Island here and another 20k to be had, so we could do this one. Skull Island shouldn't be a difficult battle by any means, but without a mage in this army, it's still a concern. Ooh, you're at level 11. Oh, wait, but you don't have anything else at level 12 because you already got the good stuff. Which is actually good. I'm not complaining, I swear. Alrighty, well then, instead you are going to go for, I guess, either Speed of Horse or Honest Steel. I mean, I think we're gonna go on a steel first, mostly because you have more great swords than you have knights of war, at least at this time. Right swords it is. Alrighty, and then you, Mr. Man, you are going to go replenish troops, although we could start moving into bolstered leadership and bolstered attack if we wanted to as well. Leadership is the better one, right? Because it gives us physical resistance for the army, even if it weakens the guy. As well as a little bit of fire resistance, so I'm not sure that we care that much about it. We could also get Faith's Bastion. Right now. So if you're in trouble, you could at least have that. Enemy spell resistance, well, it would be nice to be able to use that. You know what, let's start with the physical resistance. Heart of the Griffin, and then... Nah, you know what, no, I changed my mind. Faith's Bastion first, other stuff afterwards. Alright, away you go, Skull Island. Let's hope that it gives us a nice buff. And yeah, I do definitely want to get a couple of sea armies just permanently patrolling the seas, picking up islands as they go. Anyway, raid the cove. And what do we have here? A couple mortars, a carronade, decent amounts of depth guard, which should be fairly decent against our great swords. They should still be able to defeat them, but nonetheless, the regular depth guard are anti-chaff infantry, and great swords, while relatively basic as far as infantry go, as compared to other factions, I mean, even if they're good infantry for ours, are still heavily armored and should still do decently against the depth guard. Here we go.
Wise counsel! We march on every front to the Empire!
Alrighty, I just wanted to hear that first blast from the mortars as well as all of the cannons. Now, this shouldn't be a crazy difficult battle, but on the other hand, we don't have our mage with us, and those depth guards should be fairly effective at fighting our great swords, as I was saying. On top of that, we do have a decent amount of enemy artillery, and unfortunately, the fact is that cannons, which is what we have other than the mortars, are pretty poor in terms of actually having duels with enemy artillery pieces. Both of them firing at the same time against one enemy carronade are still going to take some time to knock it down. It would probably be much better if we replaced one of them maybe with a Hellstorm rocket battery, or possibly both. I don't know, I'll think about it. Might want to retool the army somewhat, because a single rocket battery would have probably knocked all three of these enemy artillery pieces out without much trouble, and prevented them from doing more damage. And then again, obviously the cannons are good at targeting single entities, which the rest of this army isn't all that great at, as we don't have any handgunners or anything of that nature. But anyway, we are going to obviously try to knock out the enemy artillery pieces before they can do more damage. Otherwise, our mortars are going to be targeting rather the enemy ranged units, essentially keeping them from the battle by forcing them to do the dance and run around, escaping our shots. The rest of the enemy army, however, will move forward, and we will be fighting the depth guard and the various zombie pirate mobs shortly. On top of that, the first two units, the units that were up at front, as we can see, two units of great swords have been somewhat heavily damaged by the enemy artillery, so we're going to back them off and use them as a reserve to guard our artillery pieces, while the rest of our infantry just stand forward. I decided not to bother going with that blocky formation this time, as in have these guys in a relatively wide formation instead, because the depth guard are relatively low in number compared to the great swords, and I'd like more of them getting hit at once, as in the depth guard, more of them getting hit at once. Anyway, here come the depth guard. And these ones with the halberds rather, so they should be doing a decent amount of armor-piercing damage, just like our great swords are, though they should be the superior unit, generally speaking. You gotta love the depth guard, though. Definitely one of the best-looking infantry units in the entire game, ever since their release. It's kind of hard to beat them, at least in terms of aesthetics. Anyway. Alrighty, looks like we have even more depth guard moving in, and they are certainly booking it forward, which makes sense because vampires in SFO are a lot faster than in vanilla, which is absolutely as it should be. Vampire should most definitely not run at standard infantry speeds. 50 speed on these guys, not too bad at all. Alrighty, we got our master or grandmaster moving in as well, though he's not currently fighting the vampire fleet captain, and we should be okay. Otherwise, we also have our units of, specifically the Knights of Caliban, but the Knights of Moor are charging in, also looking fantastic. The enemy thought that they had won in the aesthetics department, but we have the Knights of Moor, which are definitely one of the best cavalry units, and the best looking, rather, aesthetically, cavalry units in the entire game. You gotta love those helmets. Anyway, they've taken care of the rest of the enemy artillery pieces, mostly because the cannons were just taking forever. It's 3 minutes of non-stop firing, and they couldn't take care of them. So, yeah. In fact, the mortars might have been able to take care of them quicker, but we had other things to do. Speaking of other things to do, we got more of our knights charging in. There's a unit of zombie-powered gunnery mobs no longer protected by those depth guard with halberds. And thus we should be able to knock them out fairly quick with the Knights of Moor, the mortifactors, in this particular situation. Otherwise, it looks like more and more of the enemy, is melting away. And I do believe the battle should be just about ours. The enemy lord has fallen, the zombies drop to the ground, and the depth guard melt away as well. A few more shots from our various bordermen. Mortarmen, I should say. I love the stupid pun army. It always makes me happy. Alrighty, a few more enemies, and hey, there's the Grandmaster moving in as well. Too bad he doesn't have the Knights of Moor helmet, though. He kept his regular Grandmaster helmet, although he does get their armor and their plume and their horse. I guess to I don't know, separate him in terms of appearance from the regular Knights of Moor. Still, you gotta love that helmet. He does have his own unique weapon though. But anyway, decisive victory for us, not too difficult. We did take a little bit of damage on several of the units of greatswords, especially due to the enemy artillery, but otherwise, nice little fight. Alright, you know what? Fairly nice little battle. I was thinking that one would be a little bit boring, but honestly not too bad at all. Would have been a lot easier if we had our mage, mind you, to reduce the armor on the enemy depth guard and whatnot, as well as get a Pit of Shades going, maybe even kill off the enemy mortars before they could do so much damage, but it's okay. We also, unfortunately, took quite a bit of hurt on both our Warrior Priest and on Simon, but at the end of the day, they should be okay. Let's take that 2.5k and let's see if we got any nice items or buffs out of this. Enchanted Shield, that's really... Damn you, Skull Island. Okay, so it does look like Skull Island just gives you a random item or a random buff, I guess. Oh, well. Also, who got the Enchanted Shield? Nobody. Okay, good. Alrighty, well, unfortunately, with that, we are basically out of time, and this is probably going to be the time to call it. And next time, we will see about attacking the Awakening, depending on whether we... I'm just wondering... Without a mage, the Sirens are going to be a major issue for us, but we might still land. I mean, I guess we could swap a Lichbone Pendant to them, or we could land around here and get a mage. But anyway, getting ahead of myself as usual. Marcus still has a lot of work to do here, so we'll do that next time. Maybe even try to chase down Connor the Stasher, as though the Fey Enchantress might do it for us, we shall see. Although her army is actually pathetically weak. Maybe we need to force her to fight a few more factions. Oh, she could have maybe done something by attacking Nakari, but apparently not so much. Would you guys please kill him off? Please don't make Kurt do it for you. Anyway, that'll be action for next time, and then we'll try to see if we can't catch Archaon in the next turn or two. That is definitely a fight I'm looking forward to, and maybe if we fight the Legion of Chaos as well, we can... and we can get a nice duel between the Demon Prince and between Karl. So stay tuned for all that. Don't forget to leave a like and comment. All glory to the algorithm. And thanks for watching.